Naturally, I am not a sketchbook person, but for a very long time, I've been trying to force myself to use one just because it is said to be so important that I thought it was essential. But after filling a few sketchbooks, I decided that I am actually done with it. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name is Julie. I am an online art student, and in this channel I share my journey. And today I will explain to you why I decided to stop using a sketchbook and what I am using instead. When you hear or read that having a sketchbook is very important, I think it is important to keep in mind that, for me at least, what they mean by this isn't that you need the actual object. What a sketchbook is really is a place that is personal, where you're completely free to make bad drawings, to experiment, that you don't have to show to anyone. A place where you can take notes that you're able to have with you at all times. So you have it with you when you're watching a lesson, you have it on the side when you're working on a project and you want to work out some specific detail of your project. You have it here and ready to go, and it is your go-to place to work something, to take a note, to make an experiment, to try out a new material. So it has to be with you at all times, and I believe the final defining point of a sketchbook is that it is something that you're going to keep. It is something that will allow you to look back on your progress, to revisit your notes, to remember what you were thinking, what you were working on in a specific time, and remember about some ideas that you had, that you wrote, that maybe you didn't pursue. But this element of being able to keep it is very important as well. So what you really need, and I agree with the advice that it is one of the most important things that you can have as an artist, is a place where you can experiment, that is portable, that is convenient, that is going to stay with you, and that you will be able to keep and use to look back on your journey. And in many cases, having an actual bound sketchbook, like the object sketchbook, is an excellent option for this, and maybe this is the best option for you. But for me, there were a lot of drawbacks to sketchbooks that bothered me, that made it not work perfectly, and being obsessed with organization, I like to have a system that works perfectly. The first thing is that it's good to have a chronological view of everything you've been doing, but I personally like to separate things a little bit for different reasons, because some mediums, they require different papers, and I may want to look back on my master studies but not necessarily see my written notes from my classes, or the other way around. I may want to look back on my coursework and not necessarily see the pages where I just swatched some gouache that I just had. So I tried to theme sketchbooks and have sketchbooks dedicated to specific things, whether it was an actual theme like class notes or master studies, or it was more dedicated to a specific medium, like this is my gouache sketchbook, this is my watercolor sketchbook, this is my ink sketchbook. I tried this, and it takes a lot of effort, and then when I'm outside, when I go on a trip, which is rare, okay, but still sometimes happens, I don't necessarily want to take 5 different sketchbooks with me, to have the sketchbook if I make a master study, the sketchbook if I make a sketch outside. This was just too much effort, and also too expensive, too many sketchbooks to buy. So what I did instead is, and you can see this in my sketchbook tools that I shared in this channel, is that I had pretty much my main sketchbook, that was an A4 size sketchbook that would stay here at home in my studio, and where I would put almost everything, unless it required a specific paper for a specific medium, such as watercolor. This would be my main sketchbook, and it was okay, at least I was filling them, and that was good, because not entirely finishing my sketchbooks has been a problem for me, but still not completely satisfying. And now, when I want to look back on a specific thing, I kind of regret using my sketchbooks this way. With a sketchbook, you are bound to what kind of paper is in the sketchbook, and it may not always be the ideal paper for the project that you have, unless you're working with just one medium and that's all you use, but that's quite a constraint. And for me, different mediums have different advantages, and I go to different things to accomplish different projects or take different kinds of notes. It also makes it very annoying to scan or even just photograph my drawings. It also makes it very difficult to work in layers. So if I want to have one piece of paper where I work out the structure of my drawing, and then another piece of paper where I work out the volumes, and then another piece of paper to work out the final lines. So if I want to work in layers like this, which is becoming a more and more important part of my process, I'm being very influenced by Joshua Jacobo for this. It's not easy to do in a sketchbook. I can't use my lightbox with it, and it's almost impossible. I pretty much have to work out my sketch in just one go here. There's also a sense of wasting paper when I start a new page, and I mess up. Sometimes I just mess up, sometimes I have a bad start for a drawing, and you could have this philosophy of, okay, let's just keep going on this page, this is part of the process and all of this, whatever you want, however you want to work, and keep your sketchbooks. But sometimes you really need a new start, you really need a new page, and I don't like having this feeling of waste when I know that I have this page that has almost nothing, but I messed up very early in the process and now I have to live with it, and every time I look back in my sketchbook I have to see this page. I don't like this. A sketchbook is also, in my opinion, heavy to carry. I am small and weak, and I like having some kind of sketchbook. I'm going to show you what I use. Some kind of sketchbooks on me at all times to be able to take notes, to work out an idea, or to make a sketch from life wherever I am. If I were to carry a sketchbook every day, I'm carrying more paper that I'm going to use at any given time, which is unnecessary weight in my opinion, and I also run the risk of forgetting my sketchbook somewhere and losing potentially months of drawings that I have in there. Also, what if I want to frame a drawing? What if I want to gift it to somebody? What if I want to sell it because it is a nice drawing? Having it bound in a sketchbook makes all of these things a lot more difficult. Talking about carrying a sketchbook outside and drawing outside, I created a free PDF guide to sketching kits where I show my favorite tools, different price points as well, and you can get it for free by subscribing to my newsletter. So if you're interested, the link is in the description below. I hope you find some nice ideas in there because I put my favorite tools and I love talking about this. There are other options around sketchbooks that I've been thinking about before I chose my current option, which is the best. And these include, for example, making your own sketchbooks. So I know that some artists are making their own sketchbooks using their favorite paper or papers, which allows them to have the kind of binding that they want, the exact amount of paper that they want in a sketchbook, and also mixing paper within one sketchbook. So I've seen people having this of sketching paper, this of tones paper, this of watercolor paper, and all of these papers are their favorite paper for the medium. And this also allows you to buy your paper in larger sheets or rolls, which can be cheaper. So this can be a good option. For me, it doesn't solve all of the problems that I have with my sketchbook, and it's also very time consuming. So if you're into crafts, if you can enjoy bookbinding, that's a great activity, go for it. For me, it is too much of an effort and I just want something that works. Another great option that I've seen is called a thesis binder, and it's kind of if you had the cover of your sketchbook but it doesn't have paper inside and it's kind of a plant. I will put a picture. I considered getting one and just having my sheets of paper in there, and these are great because they come in different sizes. So I've been able to find one in A4 size and one in A5. That's also a good option and it's close to what I've been doing, but it's not exactly what I've been doing. What I did is that after some research about what I can use instead of a sketchbook and some discussions that I had with other students on the New Masters Academy Discord who are just amazing at organization and taking notes and have the best ideas, I decided to stop using my sketchbooks. So I had a few going on at that point. I had one in stone paper, I had a watercolor sketchbook, I had a couple sketching paper sketchbooks. What I did is that I tore all of the pages that were blank because I didn't want to waste paper. I archived the part of the sketchbooks that I had used, and I have now in a drawer behind me, I have my paper stash where I keep all of my papers sorted. Moving forward, I am probably going to only buy large sheets of paper and cut them down, because you can always reduce the size of a piece of paper, but you can never get an A3 out of an A4, for example. I don't want to completely work on loose sheets of paper because it doesn't help with the purpose of a sketchbook, that is to be able to look back on what you've done and to keep it in an organized way. So what I have is that I got a few of these, I guess you would call this a portfolio, and I'm able to dedicate one portfolio to one theme. Most of the sketchbooks that I tore apart were A4, and these are A4 portfolios, and I can just keep my sketches in there. I currently have 4 of these in use. I have one for a class, one for a project, and one that is my sketchbook, and one for master studies. I'm able to put different kinds of formats in there, and what I love as well is that, as I said, I like to work in layers more and more, so sometimes I will have a finished piece on one piece of paper, but I also have a study for this, and I have a preliminary drawing, and I have earlier layers, and since there is a transparent plastic pocket, I'm able to keep the finished piece visible, and I keep my working drawings just underneath this, and so I can have it all in the same place. So I can keep things sorted, reorganize it however I want. I have to say, I will admit, and that's the only downside of this, that it doesn't look as good as a hardbound sketchbook. For the portability aspect, what I use, it's like the cheapest sketching option that you could think of. It is the backing of a drawing pad, and I have one paperclip, and this is my sketchbook. I also have this very simple envelope that I made myself with thick paper, so it's about 300 GSM paper that I cut in the correct shape to be able to have some protection for my paper, and inside this I just keep a few sheets of different papers. I have a selection that I know I may want to use outside, and I have 1, 2, maybe at the most I have 4 sheets of paper, which are often like A4 pieces of paper that I cut in half to get an A5, because A5 is what fits the best in my everyday handbag. And this thing is just amazing. It's so much lighter in my handbag than my A5 sketchbook was, because there is a lot less paper, and I don't need as much paper as an entire sketchbook contains. I'm rarely doing more than 2 sketches when I'm outside, so having this selection, just a little bit more paper than I would need so I can feel comfortable, is perfect for me. And it is also excellent if I want to draw standing. For example, at a museum I will often draw standing, because the people who make museums, they're not the best at putting sitting places in front of the paintings that we want to study. I don't know why. They're just always in the worst possible place. So I often sketch standing in this situation, or if I am at the greenhouse, I may be standing, just holding a sketchbook, even A5, for a long period of time, even just half an hour. It can start to weight and to be uncomfortable for my shoulder, and even if I don't have any pain, it is enough for me to stop drawing and to want to rush the end of my drawing. But having just this extremely lightweight piece of cardboard and just 1 sheet of paper, 1 paper clip in there, is so lightweight, so comfortable, that I can draw for much longer periods of time standing. So this is what I keep in my handbag every day, along with a pencil case that contains my sketching kit. And if you're curious about the content of my sketching kit, I am planning a video about what's in my everyday sketching kit. I will leave a link to it right now if you want to check it out. And since the one you're watching is going to go live before, YouTube is going to select another video for you. Thank you very much for watching, keep drawing, and I will see you in the next one.